Welcome to this week's BeMoreU speaker interview. So this week, I'm really excited to introduce Victoria Mantzoros. She is an empowerment and wellness coach. Her expertise lies in helping women to really build that confidence and heal that relationship between themselves and their body, and in a really unique way. So I'm excited for Victoria to share more about that. And so Victoria, just tell us a little more about like what you do and why you're really passionate about that.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here. I am, oh man, how long have I been doing this? About 8 years now. So for about and over the course of the 8 years, it's helped me really get to this point of getting clear, like what do I do? Right? I'm always
Yeah.
wondering, what do I do? And like, how do I show it into the world? But today, and what I've been doing, what I've put my business around is really helping people that have big visions get to where they want to go. And what I've noticed is that people that others perceive as really capable or driven or outgoing, it seems like people think they have it all figured out and think that they don't need support or that they are going to be fine. And so what I run into is these people that have glorious visions and they keep putting their self-care, their health, their relationship with their body second simply because the vision is so big. And oftentimes they're so passionate about what they're doing that it's a part of them feels it's okay to put themselves second. And then at some point there's this middle ground, and this is where I come in, where they say, okay, I've created all this great stuff, but now I need to get all my internal stuff up to where are, whether that's my health or being able to really go for what I want and knowing what that is and knowing what to say yes to, what to say no to. And especially with nutrition and exercise, there's so much out there that for people that are up to a lot in the world, that just reading all these books and people and trying every single thing, that can be really discouraging. And if you don't know how to find the right way of what works for you, or know how to set it up or how to approach it or how to think about it, it's hard to have the sustainability element of it. So I really specialize in helping people figure out what is their way for them, and how do you know if it's your way, and then what tends to happen is if they're working through weight, like weight tends to fall off, or they tend to get stronger, or they tend to, if they're trying to get off certain medications, that tends to happen as a byproduct of them figuring out what they need, how to do it sustainably.
Yeah. You know what I love too is that like it's not that you have to focus, like if you're interested in losing weight or something, like to focus really hard on that, which can be the sort of discouraging cycle if that's like really focused on that. But you're talking about like a whole life vision of like what really works for me,
Yeah.
and especially with health. And I feel like, with women, our relationship to health and our bodies can be so conflicted sometimes, you know. And I don't know if that's been part of your journey of like how, like why you specifically are focusing on this. And like I think all of us have a story and an experience of how we've really collected and gathered a lot of what society tells us we need to be in regard to how we look and what our health is, and often it's like need to match this, and it's not going to help us generate what you're talking about, which is that like what actually works for me, what will actually make me feel healthy and amazing and enjoying both inside and outside.
Yeah, absolutely. And I noticed for me a few years back when I was working in corporate world and doing management, I kept running into this thing of people saying, "Oh, you have it figured out. Like, why? Like, you should be happy, right? You should have like you've created all these things." And what I found for myself is I was so good at getting things done that I just didn't. I didn't, because I was putting so much effort in getting things done in these other areas, that when it came to putting that effort towards myself, it's like I just didn't have the energy available. And so of what my journey has been is it's not requiring that you have this energy, this high, endless 100% energy to be able to put towards it. You don't have 100% energy to put towards every single thing. It's really getting clear how can you prioritize what matters to you and still have health, because I think at least what I noticed within myself and a lot of the clients that I work with now, is that they have this dichotomy where if they're successful in their business or their career, that means that their health is not.
Mm.
And part of that comes from this idea where we tend to have an all or nothing way of thinking. I know I did with my health, of like, being healthy looks like A
Yeah.
or B. And you notice it a lot with people are like, oh, well, I'm eating a certain way. And you'll hear really quick someone like, oh, wow, that's so great. I've been meaning to do da 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 da. And so many people know the things that they want to be doing, but they can't seem to do it. How do you bridge that gap? And part of it's figuring out what actually matters. And it comes from within. And so what I had to do is figure out, it wasn't as much as I'd love to say it was the education or the training or mentors or whatever. I find the biggest shift in my health and what's helped my business is being able to sit with myself and figure out, oh, what's the real reason why I don't think I can have this? Or I don't do it in a way that contributes to my aliveness and gives me freedom. And then working through that, I found all the lovely things. And through that, it's like, oh, well, then eating healthier came naturally. Like I stopped self-sabotaging as much, and I stopped doing these other things, and I started doing things that I thought that I couldn't do. And I've noticed that with some of my clients as well, where the missing link is really going within and figuring out with compassion, what's going on? Like, what are you not talking about? What are you not facing that you are not, like, that's holding you back? It's such a beautiful journey, and ends up being just so complex for every person and so beautifully unique that you end up walking away with just tools and self-awareness and freedom in your life, that's what I'm passionate about, is having people have more connection to others and themselves, and just live a life that's as big as they want it to be.
Yeah, that is really beautiful. I was just like really thinking about how it's a balance, finding this really beautiful balance. But I love that you've mentioned that you have to go inward, like inside is where your answer is, right? So if I'm having really all this success over here, but my health is like tanking, I can't just go to this article and read the 5 steps and like, okay, I'm good now.
Yeah.
It's like, it's actually like, I'm creating this whole experience for myself, and so how do I want to engage with this and shift this around? And I'm sure like coming to someone who like yourself, who's had this experience, and like you said, like I had all this education too, and there's all these other things, which is great, but also I just really needed to go inside.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I remember being in undergrad and I was studying kinesiology, and it's just such a funny moment where I'm surrounded by people who love sports, love exercise science, and I'm around these people that are just like geeking out about all these things. I remember being there being like, I can't relate. I don't want to move my body. I don't want to do it. I was like, that's so great for you. And it's like, it's just astounding to me that even in college, in studying it, in working on things that I found very interesting, I still couldn't quite connect.
Yeah.
So I love to share that, because I think sometimes when we look to the people that we go to be healthy, I think a lot of times we have people that are like, I have always been healthy. I've always just gotten it. I've always wanted this, and I've always been an athlete. Or there's the people that have never had it, and then they found their way like back to like where they're at now.
Yeah.
And so I just always find it so interesting of how where I am today, which like from places where I was so sure that I didn't have it. I was like, oh, I will not like exercise. I don't. And yet a part of me did. And so bridging that and figuring out like, what is that? And healing that stuff that is getting in the way. So cool. I mean, not to say cool in the moment, right? Because it's not necessarily the most glamorous thing to realize all the ways you hold yourself back. And yet there's freedom in it. We're seeing like, now I can be an ally with this versus not really what's going on.
Yeah, no, I love that too. You brought up the word healing, because it really is what it is, I'm sure, right? So like, there's a part of us that might like exercise and a part of us that hates it or something, right? But like, there's something in that there's something that wants to be heard probably and seen and like, and healed in a lot of ways. And that is like the journey, like you said, it doesn't feel cool sometimes because you're actually going deeply into it. And I think sometimes when we're reaching out for the next book or the next article or whatever, we're kind of avoiding that process of going deeply in. But well, at least like with this community of BeMoreU and with what you're doing, like you don't have to do it alone for one.
Yeah.
So thank God.
Oh
and
yeah.
and then you realize that like once you do that, you've actually healed and actually released that energy, right? So it's not this constant inner feeling anymore. Like you've
Yeah.
actually, become more yourself, like release
Yeah.
that thing and heal that part of yourself. So that's powerful
Yeah.
stuff.
And one thing that I found with myself and some of the clients that I've worked with is the things that they think about when they're not worrying about the way their body is, food, or the things they think they should be doing. Like, so it takes up so much mental space to be,
For
oh,
real.
to be thinking about what am I going to eat? Well, do I want to eat this? Well, will this help? And da 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 da. And it's like that is maddening. And I think especially as women, I think it's ingrained. It's like, oh no, that's good to think about, right? Like it's just part of life. It's like,
Yeah, it's part of your job. Yeah.
right? But oh man, but what projects could you bring to life? What differences in other people's lives if you just didn't have to worry so much about the way you felt operating in the world? You just felt comfortable with yourself. And
Yeah.
in that, there's so much possibility of just anything, right? Anything that we're interested in.
Wow. Well, I'm so excited that you're a part of BeMoreU. And maybe you could tell us a little bit about like what someone who comes to your session, like what they will be getting from this and be able to receive from your session.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the barriers keeping you from really embracing your health. And so you'll walk away with some clarity of what is that for you? What is your relationship to your health? Is it just that you need to know what to do? Or is it figuring out what that looks like? Or just figuring out where you're at in the journey and really learning where you're at and how to meet yourself where you're at with this. And really breaking out of all these shoulds and have tos and if I cared I would do this things, like all of that stuff, and breaking out of perfectionism and just embracing where you're at and then getting next steps from there.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. Well, and towards the end of this interview, I usually like to ask people, what is maybe like one tip someone could walk away with even today of like, how do I engage with my health, or how do I be more myself, be more you, right? Be more myself,
Yeah.
even just today. What might you say, or even just from your own experience?
Start with where you're at.
Mm.
I think there's so many times when within myself that I have either not gone for something or not gone for something fully simply because I wasn't where I wanted to be, or I wasn't where I thought I should be in order to have that, or just, things like that. And in starting where you're at, you give yourself truth. And in actually embracing where you're at, you have a full say of where to go. Is the path that we every day we're choosing paths. But if you choose a path from a place that you're not, there's no footing, there's no walkway. And when we try to take that first step and you fall, we think it's your fault, and it's not. It's just because you didn't make that goal from where you're at now. So whether the goal is to lose weight or to speak your truth or to go for that next level in your life, figure out, yeah, it's great to know where you want to go, but like, where are you now and what's the first step that you can do to get there? And in doing that, then the next step will light up, and then the next one. And then if you slip back, you're still on the path versus just jumping from different things without being grounded, so to speak.
Wow. Yeah, I love that. It's like really embracing that you are enough, right? In this very moment, in this very place in time and space, right? And just starting right here. That's really, really beautiful.
Yeah.
So Thank you so much, Victoria. And we're really excited to see you at the event and around on the community. And I'll be posting on this post how you can connect more with Victoria. And then, yeah, we'll be seeing you around. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks for having me.